in this analogy, in other words. He did the same thing for himself. Look at PTI. PTI is based on that. It's all based on the quick hitters that he's now criticizing that bloggers do now.
I would even take it, you're completely on point there. And I would say that, the way we cover sports, while I think it's a little too negative, I don't like how negative it can be, but the way we cover sports has been completely revitalized by like a show like PTI or Around the Horn, or we just talked, we talked at length about Dan LeBatard and his show, Highly Questionable, as well. Those shows don't exist without his pushing the envelope with PTI, and the way how successful that's been. For some reason, though, when he's not associated with the driving force of change, in this case, blogging, now all of a sudden we have to take a step back and go back to the dinosaur age. Progress should never be frowned upon. And blogging, it is progress. It is progress. The amount of information out there for whether you're a casual fan, whether you want to get into blogging, all that stuff, the amount of information out there, the more information should never be a bad thing. You should want more information because it by definition keeps you informed. Weird how that works.
Yeah. And it's all generational and it's all frustration there on his end. But like I said, he's mad about something that he actually, he was a champion for that in terms of bringing the personality-based, journalist/TV personality into the forefront. Now, hell, Fox Sports makes a living on that now, on personality-based stuff. Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock, all those guys, Colin Cowherd. So it's just fascinating now how he'll be so negative about something that he was actually a part of, in changing. I just don't get it.
And I think also, there's a generational thing, but I think there's also a personal thing. You mentioned how he came up in the newspapers, and I'd be frustrated if I had friends who kept losing jobs, to people who are coming up and doing this differently, right. And honestly, I do get frustrated sometimes because, you know how this goes. A lot of bloggers aren't paid fairly. A lot of writers, period, aren't paid fairly. And that gets frustrating when I look around and I see it'd be really cool if so-and-so out there who's doing tremendous work, and is only making, maybe $100 a month. For some reason, we don't get to talk about that when everybody, freaks out about people losing their jobs. Well, it'd be nice to have a job, and a lot of bloggers out there are forced to carry 3 and 4 jobs just so that they have the opportunity to, at 1 or 2 in the morning, write about the team they love. That's not right. That's not okay. And for some reason that conversation doesn't occur nearly enough.
No, it does not. It does not at all. So, Anyway, follow him on Twitter at Anthony Irwin LA. That's correct, right? Got it right, yeah.
Yep.
Once again, his podcast, Silver Screen and Roll podcast, which is the Lakers SB Nation site. I actually love that. Is Drew still there? Drew Garrison still there?
Yep, Drew is a superhero. He's doing great work over there.
Yeah, those guys do a really good job. I don't. I follow. I always feel like I've almost been forced to through the years because of some of the people I've been associated with, the Laker fans. But I'll tell you, Silver Screen Roll is probably puts out some of the best content I think I've seen of all the bloggers, all the Laker blogs I've seen through the years. Silver Screen Roll definitely puts out probably some of the best. I would dare say
I really appreciate that.
I will say as good, if not better, than Lakers Nation, honestly.
Well, I'm not allowed to comment on that, but
I can.
No, I am. I am. They're two different sites, really. But yeah, I would say that the content on Silver Screen and Roll is more captivating. That's for sure.
Right. Anyway, Anthony, that's one of the podcasts. We'll do this again soon, man. Definitely, because we got to check on Kobe and the Lakers. See if they got that 15 wins.
I'll tell you what. If they get to the 16 or 17 wins, I'll buy a ticket out there to Miami. I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm about to hold you to that too.
Oh man, I'd love to. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, brother. Take care. All right.
All right.
All right. Man.